Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Daily English Dialogues. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Anna. We are so happy to have you here with us today. Whether you are listening on your commute, while washing the dishes, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you tuning in.
Today, we have a topic that I think is absolutely essential for almost every English learner out there. In fact, it's something even native speakers struggle with sometimes.
That's right. Today we are talking about speed, specifically why you don't need to rush when you speak English, and how slowing down can actually make you sound more confident and fluent.
It's a very common misconception, isn't it? The idea that fast equals fluent.
Exactly. So many students tell me, Anna, I want to speak fast like a native speaker, but they forget that clarity is much more important than speed. So today we are going to break this down, give you some vocabulary to talk about it, and offer some practical advice.
Let's start right at the beginning with the biggest problem our listeners face, that huge, stubborn myth, fast equals fluent. Why do you think this idea is so stuck in everyone's heads?
It's deeply ingrained, isn't it? I think part of it starts in the classroom. When you're a beginner, you speak very slowly because you're translating in your head.
I want an apple.
Right. It's painful. You feel like a robot.
Exactly. So naturally, you associate slow with beginner and struggling. You think, if I'm slow, it means I'm bad at English. So the logical opposite must be true. If I'm fast, I'm advanced.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a psychological trap. You're trying to run away from that beginner feeling.
But there's another factor, I think: social media and movies.
Oh, absolutely. Think about TikTok or YouTube Shorts. People edit those videos to remove every single breath and pause. It's jump cut, jump cut, jump cut.
It creates this unrealistic expectation of how humans actually sound.
You literally will. And consider movies, like we mentioned before. In a movie like The Social Network, the characters speak incredibly fast to show that they're smart. We watch that and think, wow, intelligence sounds fast.
But in reality, intelligence often sounds thoughtful. It sounds deliberate.
Precisely. We need to redefine the word fluency. Mark, when you hear the word fluent, what do you think of?
I think of water, a river.
Yes, the word comes from the Latin word flue, which means to flow. A river doesn't necessarily move at 100 miles per hour. A river can move slowly, but it moves smoothly. It doesn't stop and start abruptly. It just flows.
I love that definition. So fluency is about continuity, not velocity.
Continuity, not velocity. That is a brilliant way to put it. You can speak quite slowly, but if your sentences connect well and you don't have awkward breakdowns, you are fluent.
I actually have a story about this. I used to prepare students for the IELTS speaking exam. I had one student, let's call him Davide. Davide spoke incredibly fast. He wanted to impress the examiner.
I can imagine what happened.
It was a disaster. His brain couldn't keep up with his mouth. He would start a complex sentence, get halfway through, realize he didn't know the grammar for the end of the sentence, and then crash. He would have to stop, go back, and restart.
We call those false starts. They're actually much worse for your score than simply speaking slowly.
Exactly. The examiner couldn't follow his logic because it was chaotic. Then I had another student, Maria. She was very calm. She spoke at maybe 60% of Davide's speed, but she never crashed. She finished every sentence she started.
And who got the better score?
Maria by far, because she was coherent. That's a great B2 word for our listeners. Coherent means logical and consistent. Her speed allowed her to choose the right vocabulary and grammar before she said it.
That is the key. When you rush, you're gambling. You're hoping the right word will magically appear in your mouth. When you slow down, you're planning.
It's the difference between running down a hill and walking down a hill. If you run, gravity takes over and you might fall. If you walk, you control every step.
And let's be honest, Mark, even in our native language, do we trust people who talk too fast?
Not really. We often think of the fast-talking salesman, someone who's trying to trick you or sell you a bad car. They talk fast so you don't have time to think about the deal.
Exactly. Rushing can make you sound untrustworthy or nervous, whereas a confident speaker, think of someone like Barack Obama or a great storyteller, they take their time. They use silence as a tool.
So to summarize this myth of speed, speaking fast is often a mask. It's a mask used to hide insecurity, but ironically, the mask makes your English worse.
Spot on. If you're rushing, you're likely swallowing your syllables. You might say, I gonna go, instead of I am going to go. A native speaker might understand that, but if you're a learner and your pronunciation isn't perfect yet, I gonna go just sounds like a noise.
Swallowing syllables. That happens a lot with the ends of words, right? Like dropping the ed on past tense or the s on plurals.
Yes, if you speak too fast, you physically don't have time to articulate the T at the end of fact or the S at the end of likes. And if you drop those sounds, your grammar sounds bad.
So slowing down actually improves your grammar score automatically.
It does. It gives your tongue time to actually hit those target sounds. It's instant grammar correction just by changing your speed.
That is incredibly encouraging. It means you don't need to learn 1,000 new words today. You just need to give yourself permission to breathe.
Permission to breathe. I think that is the perfect mindset to start with.
So, we've busted the myth that speed equals fluency. Now let's talk about something fascinating, the psychology of social status.
This is my favorite part of the topic. It's all about how people perceive you, how they see you, just based on the rhythm of your voice.
Exactly. I've noticed a pattern in business meetings. Have you ever noticed who speaks the fastest in a high-pressure meeting?
Usually, it's the most junior person, the intern or the new employee. They tend to speak very quickly, almost frantically.
Right. And who speaks the slowest?
The CEO, the manager, the person in charge.
Why do you think that is?
It comes down to what we call high-status behavior versus low-status behavior. In the animal kingdom, the lion doesn't run around nervously. The lion moves slowly because he isn't afraid of anything.
That's a great analogy. In human communication, rushing is often a low-status behavior. When you rush, subconsciously you are sending a message to the room.
And that message is, I know my ideas aren't very valuable, so I'm going to say them as fast as possible so I don't waste your time.
Ouch, that is harsh, but it's true. It signals insecurity. You are acting as if someone is about to interrupt you at any second. It's a scarcity mindset. You feel like you don't have enough time.
Exactly. But when you slow down, you project a time abundance mindset. You are signaling, I am comfortable taking up space. My ideas are worth listening to, and I'm willing to wait until I find the perfect word to express them.
That is the definition of confidence. Confidence isn't about being loud, it's about being unhurried. We used a word in the intro that fits here perfectly.
Yes, gravitas. It's a Latin word that means weight or heaviness. In English, it means having a serious, dignified, and important manner.
You cannot have gravitas if you sound like a squirrel on caffeine.
A squirrel on caffeine. That's a vivid image. But it's true. Let's apply this to a specific situation our listeners might face. The job interview.
Oh, this is the classic scenario. You are nervous, you want the job, the interviewer asks, tell me about a challenge you overcame.
Yes, the instinct is to answer immediately, to jump in before the interviewer finishes the question.
Yes, you start babbling. You talk fast because you were terrified of silence. But think about how that looks to the interviewer. You look frantic. You look like you might crack under pressure.
Now, imagine the candidate who takes a breath. The interviewer asks the question, the candidate pauses for 2 or 3 seconds, they look thoughtful, then they speak slowly and clearly.
That candidate looks like a leader. They look like someone who solves problems calmly. By slowing down, you are actually showing the interviewer that you can handle stress.
There's another psychological aspect here too, Anna. It's about emotional contagion.
That sounds like a virus.
It's not a virus. It means that emotions spread from one person to another. If I'm speaking to you and I'm rushing, sweating, and stumbling over my words, how do you feel?
I feel stressed. My heart rate goes up just watching you. I feel anxious for you.
Exactly. If you make your listener feel stressed, they won't like listening to you. They will want the conversation to end.
But if you are calm, slow, and breathing deeply,
Then the listener relaxes. They feel safe. They think, okay, this person is in control. I can just sit back and listen.
That is so powerful. So slowing down is actually a gift to your listener. You are making the experience enjoyable for them. So if you want to sound professional and executive, you need to delete the idea that you are bothering people with your English.
Yes, stop apologizing for your existence. Take your time. When you rush, you're prioritizing the clock. When you slow down, you're prioritizing the message.
Prioritizing the message. I think that is the key takeaway for this segment. If you value your message, you will give it the time it deserves. Okay, Anna, we've established that slowing down looks confident and professional, but let's be real, it is scary, and the reason it's scary is because of silence.
The dreaded silence, the dead air.
Right, if I stop talking to think of a word, my brain screams, emergency, emergency. I feel like everyone is staring at me, judging me.
This is a huge psychological barrier for language learners. We call this the fear of silence. But here's the secret that changed everything for me. Silence feels much longer to the speaker than it does to the listener.
Can you explain that? Because when I pause, it feels like an eternity.
It's all about perception. Inside your head, your brain is racing. You're searching for a vocabulary, checking grammar, and feeling nervous. A 2-second pause feels like 10 seconds of agony.
Agony, that's a strong word, but it's accurate. But to the listener, they don't hear the panic inside your head. To them, a 2-second pause just sounds like you are thinking. It sounds natural. In fact, it gives the listener time to process what you just said.
That's true. If I'm listening to a complex idea or listening to a second language, I need the speaker to pause so my brain can catch up. If they don't stop, I get overwhelmed.
Exactly. Silence is functional. It isn't nothingness. It is a tool. We need to reframe it. Instead of calling it a pause, let's call it processing time.
Processing time. I like that. It implies that work is being done.
Yes, and you can use that time to create drama or emphasis. Listen to this sentence spoken 2 ways. First way, fast. This is the most important thing you need to remember for the exam. Second way, with pauses, this is the most important thing you need to remember for the exam.
Wow, the second one had much more impact. It felt heavy.
Right? The silence acts like a highlighter pen. It draws attention to the words that come after it. By fearing silence, you are actually throwing away one of your best communication tools. But what if the silence gets too long? That's the fear. What if I freeze completely?
That happens, but you can manage it. You don't have to be silent. You can use filled pauses or thinking noises, but you have to be careful with them.
You mean like and I thought those were bad.
Excessive ums are distracting, but a well-placed or let me see is very native. It tells the listener, I haven't crashed, I'm just selecting the best option.
So instead of a panicked silence, you use a controlled noise.
Yes, or even better, use a placeholder phrase. If you forget a word, don't freeze. Say something like, how can I put this? Or what is the word I'm looking for?
That is brilliant because you are still speaking English. You are narrating your own thinking process. That actually sounds quite advanced.
Exactly. If you say, it's astonishing, no, that's not the word. It's surprising. You demonstrate that you have a wide vocabulary and you're being precise. You turn a negative into a showcase of skill.
I love that. You're turning a negative into a positive.
And there's one more thing about silence, Mark. It creates anticipation.
Anticipation? Like waiting for a present?
Yes. If I say, the secret to success is, and then I stop for 3 seconds, what are you doing?
I'm leaning forward. I'm listening harder. I really want to know what the secret is.
Exactly. You're hooked. If I had just rushed through it, you might have missed it. Silence commands attention. It forces people to focus on you.
So silence isn't empty space, it's active space.
Perfectly said. It is active space. So to our listeners, don't run away from the silence. Embrace it. Stay in the pocket of silence. It makes you look thoughtful, intelligent, and in control.
Stay in the pocket. That's a cool phrase. It means to stay comfortable in a specific situation, usually used in sports or music. Stay in the rhythm.
Yes, find your rhythm and don't let the fear of dead air force you to speed up and crash.
Okay, let's get practical. We've told our listeners why they should slow down. Now we need to tell them how. Because honestly, it's hard to just be slow. If you just drag out your words like a zombie, hello, how are you? That sounds terrible.
Exactly. We don't want you to speak like a zombie. We want you to speak like a musician. You need a rhythm, and the best strategy for this is called chunking.
Chunking? That sounds like chopping vegetables.
In a way, it is. You are chopping a long, scary sentence into small, delicious pieces.
Can you give us a real-world analogy?
Think about phone numbers. If I ask for your phone number, you don't say 097-654-3211. That is impossible for my brain to catch. You say 097-654-3211. You break it into groups of 3 or 4 numbers.
Right, those groups are chunks, and you do the same with English sentences.
Yes, we call these thought groups. You group words together that belong together by meaning. You say one group, you pause, and then you say the next group.
Let's try an example. Imagine a really long, complex sentence.
Okay, here is a sentence a student might say in an IELTS exam. I decided to study engineering because I have always been fascinated by how machines work, and I want to solve practical problems.
Okay, if a student tries to say that in one breath, what happens?
They usually run out of air halfway through. They speed up at the end, and I want to solve practical problems. It becomes a blurry mess.
So let's chunk it. How would you break that down?
I would break it into 4 distinct parts. I decided to study engineering, pause, because I have always been fascinated, pause, by how machines work, pause, and I want to solve practical problems.
That sounds so much more controlled. It sounds organized.
It is organized, and here is the magic mark. When you pause after engineering, your brain is secretly planning the next part. You're thinking, okay, next I need a connector. I'll use because, and I need the present perfect tense, have been.
Ah, so the pause buys you planning time. This is huge for grammar.
Exactly. Most grammar mistakes happen because the mouth is moving faster than the brain. If you pause, you can check your grammar before you speak. You avoid the cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload. That's when your brain just shuts down because there's too much happening at once.
Yes, chunking reduces that load. You only have to deal with 4 or 5 words at a time. It makes the impossible task of speaking English suddenly feel possible.
Now, a question. Where do we cut the chunks? Is it random? Can I say, I decided to study engineering because I have always been fascinated by how machines work?
No, that sounds jerky and unnatural. You have to cut at the joints of the sentence. Usually these are punctuation marks, commas, periods, connectors, because, and, but, however, prepositions, in, on, at, for.
Oh, prepositions are a great place to pause. I live, pause, in a small apartment, pause, in the city center.
Perfect. That creates a beautiful rhythm. It gives the sentence a da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da cadence.
And this helps with intonation too, right?
Yes, in English, we usually have one focus word or stress word in each chunk. I live in a small apartment in the city center. If you chunk, you naturally hit those high notes. If you don't chunk, you tend to speak in a flat monotone.
So chunking fixes speed, it fixes grammar, and it fixes pronunciation. It's like a miracle drug.
It really is, but you have to be brave enough to stop. You have to trust that the listener will wait for you.
And just to remind our listeners, these pauses are short. We're talking about micro pauses, maybe half a second.
Exactly. It's not a coffee break. It's just a tiny beat, a breath, and then you continue.
We've talked a lot about the mental side of things, but I want to switch gears and talk about the physical side, because speaking is a physical act. It involves muscles, lungs, and air.
It absolutely does. And this brings us to the most fundamental thing humans do: breathing.
It sounds so basic, right? Just breathe. But when we get nervous, what happens to our breathing?
We stop doing it, or we do what's called shallow breathing. We take tiny little sips of air into the top of our chest.
I've seen this happen. A student tries to say a long sentence, but they start with no air in their lungs. By the end of a sentence, they're red in the face and their voice sounds tight.
Exactly. Think of a balloon. If you squeeze the neck of a balloon and let the air out really fast, what sound does it make?
A high-pitched squeak.
That's a great image. That is exactly what happens to your vocal cords. When you rush and you don't have enough air, your throat tightens up. Your voice gets higher, thinner, and squeaky. You sound anxious.
And that kills your authority. A deep, resonant voice sounds confident. A high, tight voice sounds scared. So slowing down allows you to refill your lungs.
Yes, remember the chunking we talked about? Every time you pause between chunks, you should be taking a micro breath. It refuels you. It relaxes your vocal cords so your natural, deep voice can come out.
So the pause isn't just for thinking, it's for fueling.
Exactly. Now let's connect this to the intonation, the music of English. This is where speed really kills your fluency.
Because English has a very specific rhythm, doesn't it?
Yes, English is a stress-timed language. This is a very important concept for our listeners.
Can you explain stress-timed simply?
Sure. In some languages, like Spanish or French, every syllable is roughly the same length. Da, 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 da. It's like a machine gun, steady. But in English, it's different. In English, some words are long and loud, and some are short and quiet.
It's like jazz music. It has a beat.
Exactly. I went to the store to buy some bread. The important words, went, store, buy, bread, are big. The little grammar words, to, the, some, are tiny and fast.
So what happens if you try to speak too fast?
You flatten everything out. You lose the rhythm. You turn into a robot. I went to the store to buy some bread. It becomes a monotone drone. It's boring to listen to, and honestly, it's hard to understand.
So slowing down gives you the time to go up and down.
Yes, you need time to climb the staircase of the sentence. You need time to emphasize the keywords. I went to the store. See how I stretched the word store? You can't stretch words if you're rushing.
There's one more specific intonation pattern I want to ask about, the uncertainty tone.
Ah, you mean upspeak, when the voice goes up at the end of a sentence?
Yes, like, my name is Mark.
It sounds like a question. It sounds like you're not sure what your own name is. When we rush, we often use this rising intonation because we're checking if the listener understands us. We're seeking validation.
But confident English usually goes down at the end, right?
Yes, falling intonation signals, I am finished, I am sure of this statement. My name is Mark. Voice goes down. To master that falling tone, you need to be calm. You need to control your breath until the very last word.
So to summarize, if you slow down, you breathe better. If you breathe better, your voice sounds deeper. And if you have time, you can add the music that makes English sound natural.
Perfectly summarized. Your voice is an instrument. You have to give it air to play it well.
I want to address a very specific worry some of our listeners might have right now. They might be thinking, Mark, Anna, this advice is great for a speech, but in a real conversation, if I pause for 2 seconds, the other person will interrupt me. They will think I'm finished.
That is a very legitimate concern. We call this turn-taking anxiety. In some cultures, conversation is like a tennis match, very fast, back and forth. If you stop moving, you lose the ball.
Exactly. So how do we hold the floor? How do we signal to the other person? I am pausing to think. I am not finished, so please don't talk yet.
You have two main weapons here, body language and grammar. Let's start with body language.
Okay, what should I do with my body?
Eye contact is key. Interestingly, when people are finished talking, they usually look directly at the listener to pass the ball. But when you are thinking, it is actually quite natural to look away slightly, maybe up or to the side.
Oh, that's true. If I look up at the ceiling and say, the problem is, it's obvious I'm searching for a thought.
Exactly. But if you look me in the eye, stop talking, and close your mouth, I will assume you are waiting for me to speak.
Also, hand gestures work well here, right?
Yes, the holding gesture. If you just lift your hand slightly, perhaps with one finger up or an open palm, it signals, wait. Ideally, just one moment. It's a universal stop sign, but it's polite.
So look away slightly and keep your hand active. Now, what about the grammar weapon you mentioned?
This is my favorite trick. It's called the hanging connector.
The hanging connector sounds mysterious.
It's very simple. You must never pause after a finished sentence. You must pause in the middle of a sentence, specifically after a connecting word.
Can you give us an example?
Okay, imagine you want to say, I didn't like the movie because the acting was bad. Don't say, I didn't like the movie, pause. If you pause there, I will interrupt you. I will say, oh really? I liked it.
Because I didn't like the movie is a complete sentence. My brain thinks you were done.
Exactly. Instead, you say, I didn't like the movie because, pause. If you pause after because, I cannot interrupt you. My brain is waiting for the reason. I am hanging on the cliff of because.
That is such a powerful tactic. You use the grammar to lock the listener in. We need to improve sales, otherwise, pause. Nobody will interrupt you there. They are terrified of what comes after otherwise.
Precisely. You are controlling the flow. So put your pause after words like and, but, so, because, although, however.
Now, Anna, what happens if the worst comes to the worst? I pause and someone interrupts me anyway. Maybe they're just rude. What do I do?
You need a recovery phrase. You don't need to be angry. You can just smile, put your hand up gently, and use a standard phrase.
Like, sorry, I haven't finished yet.
That works, but it can be a little direct. A softer B2 phrase is, let me just finish that thought, or just a second, I wanted to add one more thing.
Let me just finish that thought. That is excellent. It's professional, it's polite, but it is firm.
And then immediately continue slow and steady. Don't speed up to catch up. If you speed up after being interrupted, you are rewarding the interrupter. You are showing them that they made you nervous.
Stay in the pocket.
Stay in the pocket. Reclaim your space.
We've talked a lot about the speaker, how you look, how you feel, but communication is a two-way street. We need to talk about the other person, the listener.
Absolutely. I think we often forget that listening to a foreign language is hard work. It takes a lot of brain power.
It really does. If you were listening to someone, you're decoding their grammar, their vocabulary, and their accent all at the same time. We call this the listener's burden.
The listener's burden. That's a great term. As a speaker, your job is to make that burden as light as possible.
Exactly. If you speak at 200 miles per hour, you're dumping a heavy load of bricks onto your listener. You're making them work incredibly hard just to keep up with you. Eventually, they'll get tired and stop listening.
And this is even more important in today's world because of who we are usually talking to. Mark, statistically, who do most English learners speak to?
Other English learners.
Correct. A French person doing business with a Chinese person, a Brazilian tourist asking for directions in Germany. This is called English as a lingua franca.
In these situations, native speed is actually a disadvantage. If you use slang and speak incredibly fast, you're bad at communicating. You might be fluent, but you're not effective.
I have seen this in international meetings. The native speaker, maybe from the UK or America, mumbles and rushes. Nobody understands them. Then a Dutch speaker stands up. They speak slowly, carefully, and articulate every word.
And everyone understands the Dutch speaker.
Exactly. In that room, the Dutch speaker is the better communicator. They have high intelligibility.
Intelligibility, that is the magic word. It means how easy it is to understand you. We need to stop chasing speed and start chasing intelligibility.
And this brings up the topic of accent. Many students tell me, Anna, I want to lose my accent so I can speak fast.
That is a mistake. Your accent is part of your identity. It's fine to have an accent, but a strong accent plus high speed equals disaster.
Yes, if you have a strong accent, you must slow down. It's a trade-off. The listener needs that extra time to adjust their ear to your specific sounds.
It's like an unspoken contract. You're saying, I know I have an accent, so I will be kind to you and speak slowly so we can understand each other.
That is a sign of high emotional intelligence. You are reading the room. You are accommodating your listener.
Accommodating. That means adjusting your behavior to help someone else.
Yes, if you see your listener frowning or squinting their eyes or looking confused, what should you do?
You should hit the brakes, slow down immediately, repeat your last point with more pauses.
Exactly. Don't just keep driving the car off the cliff. I often tell my students, connection is more important than perfection.
I love that. If you rush to be perfect, you lose the connection. If you slow down to connect, nobody cares if your grammar isn't perfect.
True, people forgive grammar mistakes, they forgive vocabulary gaps, but they do not forgive being ignored or overwhelmed.
So be kind to your listener. Treat them the way you want to be treated when you're listening to a hard language.
The golden rule of language learning.
Okay, Anna, we are nearing the end of the episode. Let's give our listeners some homework. How can they practice slowing down?
I have 2 exercises for you guys. Exercise 1, the 50% speed drill. Record yourself speaking about a topic for 1 minute. Speak normally. Then listen to it. Now, record it again, but force yourself to speak at 50% of the speed. It will feel ridiculously slow. It will feel painful. But listen to the recording. I promise you, it will sound clearer and more authoritative than you think.
That's a great one. It helps recalibrate your internal speedometer. What's the second exercise?
Exercise 2, the chunking reading. Find a news article or a transcript, maybe even the transcript of this episode. Take a pen and mark slashes where you should pause. Today, slash, we are talking about speed, slash, and why it matters, slash. Then read it out loud, strictly obeying the pauses. Stop completely at every slash.
This trains your brain to recognize the natural rhythm of English. And I would add one more tip. Shadowing. Find a speaker you admire, maybe Barack Obama, or a clear actor like Morgan Freeman, or even a TED Talk speaker. Don't pick a fast comedian. Pick someone calm. Try to copy their speed exactly. If they pause, you pause.
Shadowing is fantastic. It helps you feel the physical rhythm of the slow speech.
Well, this has been a really interesting discussion. I hope it has helped take some of the pressure off our listeners.
I hope so too. Remember, guys, you don't need to rush to impress people. You impress people by being clear, thoughtful, and easy to understand. Confidence is quiet. Confidence is calm.
Confidence is calm. I love that. We'll end on that note. Thank you so much for listening to Daily English Dialogues. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know in the comments. Do you struggle with speaking too fast? Let us know.
And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations to help you reach that advanced level of English. See you next time.
Bye, everyone. Speak slowly and speak confidently.